Hi, here's Chris with a new quick tutorial for Blender. This tutorial is based on my first tutorial where I've shown you how to create this dynamic mountain. As you can see, I can move the mountain around and it is completely changing the shape. You can change the height and so on. But in this tutorial, I'll show you how to create a material for our mountain that is dynamic, that is procedural. As you can see, we have snow and land and a beach area and the water. And in this tutorial, I show you how to create the material for this. So material is dynamic, so you can change the blurriness, for example, for our snow here, and you can change the snow position where you want. And all this can be done for all the other layers like land or beach or water. So let's see how this works. Okay, the first is we change the light a bit. It's a bit too warm. I change it to white. So we change it here to white. This main light. This is a rim light. It's a bit blue. Okay, and then I move this a bit up, and we go here to the shader editor and click on our object. Before I continue, I switch my shortcut tool here so we can see which key shortcuts I'm using. So I will click on this object and we create a new material. It's called mountains. Mountains. Okay. Oh, wrong. Okie dokie. So great. I will not use the principled shader here. I will use a different one. Before I continue, use Node Wrangler. If you don't have activated this add-on Node Wrangler, you can do it here in the preferences. It's a default add-on and you just activate it. So it's good for the shader view here. It has some new nice functions and shortcuts that makes your life a bit easier if you're working in the shader editor. Okie dokie, so I will change it now here, Shift S. I have now the possibility to switch to another shader. I will use the emission shader. So we have just a color. In this case, it's white. I make it blue, or let's say this color. This is our water. You can go to the tool here and click on this and go to the item, and then you can label this node and we say it's water. The next label, I will duplicate it. It's called land. Okay, this one is for our land area for the mountain. So we call it land, for example. Then we will mix both together with Control and right mouse button here. Oops, Control Shift and right mouse button. My English. I come from Germany, so don't be surprised. My English is not very well. So okay, here we have the surface and we have now mixed the shader land and the water. And you see, if you use 1, you see the water. If you see 0, you see the land. I switch them because I want to have land here and the water there. To mix them, we use a mask. To do the mask, I add a color ramp. I type color in. By the way, I'm adding by Shift A, and then you can search for nodes. If you don't like this, you can go to add and add the elements here too. Anyway, so whatever, color ramp is here. Okay, and now we can use it for the factor. What does it mean? We can switch between the blue and the green one. So at the moment it's not working. We need UV coordinates. To do this, I click on search and say coordinates, and texture coordinates can be used. For this, I use the object mode, not the generated. I use an object mode because I want to use the position of this object, and the coordinates we get here are like a cube projection, so I can use the object space and so on. I don't go into detail. I just want to show you what's happening. So we use the object. Okay, great. Now you see we already have a very nice gradient, but the position is wrong. what we need is the Z position. To do this, we have to separate this coordinates to the axis. To do this, we go to separate, and there are some nodes, and we use the X, Y, Z node. So, okay, now you see we have the X-axis. It's a red one here. This is the X-axis, and when I change it, I can use already a blend between my water and my land. I want to use the Z-axis, not the X. Okay, so we have now the height, and I can use the height. As you can see, this is very blurry. So what we want to do is we want to change the contrast here. Okay, so first I go and make it the default value, and to do this I add a math node. Okay, and I put the math node here between that, the output, and can now work with it. For this I use a division. Okay, and when I choose it, you see I can now change the contrast here. As you can see, the contrast will be changed. To get a better value, I suggest you to make it finer. Okay, first we maybe change the node name. We tell it blur. So this is more blur or less blur, more sharpen. Okay, to do this, blur. Okay, now we make it a bit finer, so we don't need to use the shift key to change it. We add another math value, and this time I duplicate this one and say we can erase this so it gets the old name, and this time we divide through 100. Okay, so I put this in, and when I choose this here again, now it's much finer. As you can see, I have more control for this node. What happens here? When I move it to the left position into the minus, then it disappears. Okay, to avoid this, we use a group. Why we use a group? We can then clamp the value. We can say the minimum value is a special value that we want to have. To do this, I get all these nodes here, and press Ctrl G. Now I've created a group, and all these nodes are inside a group. I go outside of the group. To do this, I press just Tab, like edit mode, and we see now here is our group, and all my nodes are now here in this group. And I tell this group it's a mountain mask. Okay, so this is our mountain mask. The vector goes into the mask, and a value, a result, goes out of the mask. Okay, now I go back to the mask, and we want to put this value out, because when we see the mask, we want to have a value here to slide with. Okay, to control, for example, the blur. So to do this, I go here and move this value to this small input group. Okay, now I have the same value, and it goes here in. And when I go out of the group, I can see it. And now I'm able to move it. But I can still go into the minus value, into the negative values. To avoid this, you click on the group input, and then you have the node here, and we see a small interface. This side here are the inputs, and this side here, this one is here, these are the outputs. So we see our both inputs here, and this is the value one, and we tell it blur. Okay, so when I go outside, I see now it's called blur. I go inside again, and now I go into blur, and I say here are some options. Here is the default value. We can set it to 1, for example. It have not much to do with the later inputs, but we can change the minimum and the maximum value, and this time I set the minimum value to 0.001. Why? Because I use a very small value to don't disappear this mountain. So for example, now when I go to left, you see it stops at 0.001, and I can make it bigger, as big as I want. Okay, this is what I do here. If I would use it 0, then it would disappear, and this is not what I want. I want to make it 0.001. For example, you can use a smaller value too, and it stops here, and all works again. Okay, if this is not working, you just you just type in some value and now it works again. So okay, now you have the ability to change the sharpness of our blending. What I want to do more is I want to change the position. So if I want to have it, for example, here at the middle or in the center. To do this, I need another node here in our group. So here we have the separate, here we control the z-axis, and now we need another math node. So I duplicate this one and put it here onto this and tell it to have a new name, position. For the position, I need, for example, a subtract value. I use a subtract because when I increase, then it goes up, and when I decrease, it goes down, okay? Up and down. So I go here and put this value again outside and call it again. Here, value is called now position. Okay, so we go outside and we see now blur and position. And when I move it, I can change the position of our mountain and I can change the blur, okay? Position, blur. And we do the same here to make it a bit finer. You see, when I move it slowly, it's very fast, the position. To do this, we make the same like here. We use the same node, divide, and this time we put it here. So the position will be divided through 100. You can use another value if you want 10 or 50. The higher this value, the finer, yeah, the more here, the higher the value have to be to change something. So here, for example, now let's say it's 0, and now I can move it and it should work. Wait, it's not working for any reason. Okay. Again, I use the position. Ah, now it works. Okay. Yeah, sometimes Blender needs you have to change some values to, for example, again, then it will be compiled. The shader have to be compiled for Eevee, and this is the reason why I sometimes have to type in a value to copy it a node again, so it will be compiled. However, whatever, I go outside and you see now I have the possibility to smoothly move it and I can change the blur. Okay, so what this makes me the possibility to create, for example, a nice mountain. All this already works if I want, for example, change the displacement here. Then you see it is changing the slow or the smaller the mountains, the more interesting the structure. So as the next one will be not the beach. I could make it the beach, for example, but I will do now to save some time. I think you understand what is happening. I will add a mountain, a snow element. Okay. So what we have now is we have our mask and we can use it now. All of these nodes we need are now inside this mask, and we can use this mask for other blendings. Okay, so this mask is like an instance. So what we now need is a snow color. Okay, this time I duplicate this one, for example, and we call it snow, and I say it's not green, snow is white, and I use white color. And now what I do is I want to have the snow over this both layers. To do this, I move the snow here and Control Shift right mouse button, and we mix the snow with our land. So when I move the factor, you see we can mix between the snow and the land. So now we need another mask here. To do this, we just go here and Shift D. Not if you Shift D, if you duplicate them, it will be just duplicated. So you have to connect the vector again to the object. But there is a small trick. You can click on this, Shift Control D duplicates this node, but leaves the input collection inside. You see, when I use Shift Control D, the input will stay and I can use it. So in this case, I use my vector input and use this mask to my factor. Because this here is an instance, I can now use the position for my snow a bit higher and a bit blurrier maybe. And okay, and all is nice. And when I change, for example, the height of my mountains, all works very nice. Okay. Now I can change the shaders back from emission to our principal shader. This is very easy. You go here on snow and click Shift S, and you can change the shader, for example, to the principal shader. And our snow looks now very nice. The same, I will hide here the inputs with Control H. The same will be done here. Shift S, shader, principled, Shift Control H. The name of the shader will be kept, and the color too. So we can do the same here. Shift S, and then we use principled, Control H, and all is fine. If you want to see some reflections, we are here in Eevee, so you are going to the rendering top, and you can say screen space reflections on, and now we see some reflections. If not, you have to go to the water here. Wait, okay, Control H, and we set the roughness to very small value. Okay, for any reason it's not compiling. Wait, why we don't see any reflection or refraction? Can someone tell it to me, or why is it not working? Maybe because of the compiler. I go into the mountain mask here, and maybe we change some values. No, for any reason it's not working. I don't know why. Actually it should reflect here. Okay, oh, maybe it's the reason could be the shader tree, the shader hierarchy. No, it's still not working. Can someone tell me why? Water, Control H, metallic. Actually, if you set the roughness down, you should see a reflection here. Screen space reflection. It seemed not to work. Ah, wait, maybe it works in our Eevee mode. No. However, that's strange. Wait, maybe I save my scene. I go and open it again. Let's see what's happened now. No, it's still not reflecting. Actually, it should reflect, but it works in cycles. As soon as I switch to cycles, all is working fine. You see the reflection is here. You can use your mountains. Yeah, sometimes Eevee is, the reason is Eevee is a real-time renderer. So sometimes the shader trees are not always working very well. I don't know why this is happening here. However, sometimes it's working, sometimes not. What? Okay, this time not very well. Maybe because of the groups. Yeah. So you have seen it. It's very easy to create dynamic or procedural mountains for these elements. As you can see, you can here set the blur a bit down here for our mountain. We can add the resolution in the subdivision area here, so we have nicer mountains and more interesting. You could add another layer to have a beach. To do this, for example, I show it to you. Maybe you know it already. I go here, change the color, for example, to a sand value like this. Okay, that's okay. And then we mix now this both here and this. In this case, we use the snow and say this is not snow anymore. It's a green element here for land. Okay. Then we use a mask, position down. Okay, the blur, and we make it a bit sharpen. Up, position, sharpen. Position. Wait, here it is. Here, okay, the position was wrong. Position down, a bit sharpen. Okay, bit down like this, and now we have a nice beach. So if you want to have snow again, you take this both here, Shift D, okay, Shift Control I mean, and now we use the output of here and we Control Shift this, and then we have another mix shader. We take this factor here in, and we change the color to white to have snow. Come on, it's compiling all the time. Now it's white, okay, white, and we change here the position, okay, up. So every time when I change a value, it will be compiled. So it's here is a position, see, and maybe a bit blurrier. And we have now nice mountains, maybe higher if you want. It's on you what you want to do. Okay. So now always working. We have here. I changed the name to snow. No, it's already snow. This one is now land. And this one is not land, it's beach. Okay. Great. So we have an object coordinate, and this time we don't use a third object, we use this object. It's for our coordinates. We have a mountain mask. It's a group that can be used several times. By the way, if you never used with groups, you go into the group and you change something, for example the sharpness, then the sharpness will be changed everywhere where this group was used. Okay, so when I change here something, a value, so you see it will be everywhere changed where this group is used. So it's like an instance. This means all these groups do the same, but the values can be unique or individual. Okay, this is like object-oriented programming. If you have programmed something, so these are objects that can take some values and they can work with the values, but inside this object the routine is always the same. So when I change this one, every other one will be changed too, basically. Great, so you can see it here, these are the instances, and to know this you see 3 times this group is used, 3 times. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So if you want to have a new instance, you click on here and you have then an individual object and you can change everything. However, this is a small background for the advanced users. So yeah, this is my small tutorial. I hope you liked it and you know now how all this is working. It's not very hard, and everything looks interesting and nice, and depends on the height of our island. And why this here is not reflecting, yeah, it's because Eevee sometimes it's working, sometimes not, and yeah, I don't know why this is sometimes happening. Screen space reflections should actually work, but they don't. So yeah, maybe someone can answer me this. I think it's because of the complexity of our tree, and but this is not a problem. You can switch to cycles and always find there, and you can put here your own textures, for example. If you want, you can make it metallic, whatever. Yeah, this is what you can do. All right, that's it for today, and thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye. Hi, here's Chris again. Before we end this video tutorial, I have a small note. After I have created this tutorial, I was very curious why the reflection here is not working. It's very easy. It's the same as always for Eevee. The shaders have to be compiled. So what I've done is I have used a lot of shaders, and I've changed the shader types. And what you have to do to see it, you go to the first shader here in the tree, and this is a water shader here, this one. You switch, or you put it out here and then plug it just in again. And if this not works, you do the same with the beach again, and you see suddenly all shaders will be recompiled, and we can see the nice reflection of this island, and all is working again. Okay, so just take this shader here, the first one, plug in out and again in, and the shader will be recompiled and all is working. Okay, that's all, just for information. Have a nice day. Bye bye.